Hey everyone, welcome back. So, if you're trying to cut through all the noise right now and get straight to the facts of this rapidly unfolding geopolitical situation in the Middle East, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're strictly following the latest reports and data to analyze the breakdown of diplomacy, the ongoing military strikes, and the massive shockwaves this conflict is sending through global shipping and the world economy. So, let's just dive right in and break this down together.
Okay, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to look at 1. The breaking ceasefire, 2. The battle for the Strait, 3. Widening the target zone, 4. Regional shipping under siege, and finally, 5. The mounting global toll.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the breaking ceasefire, and how we went from an agreement straight back into hostilities.
Talk about diplomatic whiplash, right? Let's trace how fast this happened. Back in April, the US and Iran actually agreed to a ceasefire. By June, this progressed to a formal Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU. The whole stated goal of that agreement was to halt military operations, reopen the really vital Strait of Hormuz, and reach a broader agreement to end the war over a 60-day period. But just 3 weeks after that ink was dry, President Trump declared the ceasefire completely over. This rapid unraveling happened right after reported Iranian attacks on ships in Hormuz and the subsequent U.S. retaliatory strikes. So that 60-day window for peace, it basically vanished overnight.
Moving on to Section 2, the battle for the Strait, the epicenter of the conflict.
So the rhetoric from the highest levels of the U.S. government has been absolutely unequivocal here. Following that breakdown of the ceasefire, President Donald Trump issued a direct warning on his Truth Social platform. He stated that any attack on shipping in the vital waterway, and I'm quoting here, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, would be met with a severe military response. And the targets he specifically mentioned were critical Iranian infrastructure, bridges and power plants located either next to or in the capital city of Tehran itself.
And that threat wasn't just rhetorical. Military action followed fast. U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, laid out the specific locations they've been hitting. We're talking military operations centers, maritime capabilities, aircraft hangars, drone storage facilities, and military logistics infrastructure. CENTCOM's strategy, according to their own statements, is to surgically target the exact hardware and command centers that actually allow Iran to project force into those shipping lanes.
Now, this brilliantly illustrates the vast, dangerous gulf between how the two sides actually view these exact same military actions. On one hand, you have U.S. CENTCOM stating their operations are strictly designed to continue degrading Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping, so they're framing it as a defensive degradation of military assets. But on the flip side, Iran's Qatam al-Anbaya military command has stated they consider these attacks as an expansion of war in the region, and they are openly threatening strikes on all interests of America, its allies, and supporters. It is literally a textbook example of conflicting geopolitical narratives just escalating the stakes.
Let's look at Section 3, widening the target zone, moving beyond the waterway. The sheer intensity of this military engagement really cannot be overstated. We are looking at reports of 11 consecutive nights of United States strikes on Iranian targets. Think about that for a second. This isn't just a single retaliatory volley. We are talking about a sustained, nearly 2-week-long campaign of kinetic military action, night after night.
And as for where those strikes are actually landing, Iranian state media has reported air defenses activating and explosions across a huge swath of the country. We're seeing reports from the capital, Tehran, up to Tabriz in the northwest, and all the way down to the southeastern ports of Chabahar and Konarak. But crucially, explosions were also reported in Bushehr. Why does that matter? Because Bushehr is home to Iran's only active nuclear power plant. Now, while the U.S. strikes have targeted military infrastructure, you can imagine how the proximity of explosions to a nuclear facility dramatically raises the temperature of this whole crisis.
And speaking of nuclear facilities, a very specific, high-value potential target has now been introduced into the mix. The U.S. president explicitly named a complex known as Pickaxe Mountain. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it's an underground nuclear site near Natanz. Intelligence suspects Iran is using it to build an undeclared enrichment facility. President Trump publicly warned that the U.S. would be hitting that specific area pretty soon and very heavily, adding that there was not a thing Iran could do about it. And it was exactly this threat that prompted Tehran to warn the U.S. against targeting its nuclear facilities.
All right, Section 4, regional shipping under siege, the Red Sea pivot.
To really understand why the U.S. is striking so heavily, we have to look at CENTCOM's primary accusation here. According to the U.S. military, more than 30 commercial vessels have been attacked while passing through the Strait of Hormuz in just the past 3 months. CENTCOM says these unwarranted attacks have endangered hundreds of innocent mariners and undermined freedom of navigation. 30 vessels in 90 days, that shows you just how besieged this vital commercial artery has really become.
And the disruption is actively spilling over into a secondary theater. With Hormuz effectively closed off by the conflict, the Red Sea became absolutely crucial for Saudi oil shipments. So here's how this plays out in real time. Step 1. Tankers load up Saudi crude bound for China and India at the Red Sea port of Yanbu. But then, Step 2, the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen announce a maritime embargo threatening to completely close the Bab al-Mandab Strait, which is the southern gateway of the Red Sea, to any Saudi vessels. The immediate result of that threat? Step 3, British maritime risk managers reported that tankers that had just loaded oil literally made U-turns in the water, abandoning their southern routes to head back north toward the Suez Canal. President Trump has since threatened to take care of the Houthi rebels if they actually follow through on this blockade.
Finally, let's get into Section 5, the mounting global toll, casualties, and economic fallout. You see, the conflict is no longer contained just to the U.S., Iran, and the waters directly between them. The airspace of neighboring nations is now an active defense zone. Kuwait's army reported their air defenses actually engaged with drone attacks coming from Iran. Furthermore, Bahrain and Jordan have both stated they've had to intercept drone and missile strikes. So this ripple effect is actively dragging allied regional powers directly into the line of fire.
And, as we all know, when the Middle East catches fire, the global economy pays the price. Following this latest round of escalations, the threat from the Houthis and the massive rerouting of oil tankers, global fuel prices fluctuated significantly. Specifically, the price of oil jumped to $94 a barrel in direct response to these hostilities.
But then there is the financial burden this is placing on the United States military, and it is honestly staggering. $37.5 billion. According to U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, that is what this war with Iran has cost the U.S. so far. That's a massive jump of nearly $8 billion just since their last estimate in May. It is draining resources so rapidly that Secretary Hegseth actually had to appear before the Senate Appropriations Committee to warn them that core military training would have to be curtailed unless lawmakers approve an urgent, multi-billion-dollar funding boost.
But beyond the billions of dollars, there is a very real, very tragic human cost to this breakdown in diplomacy. The Pentagon recently confirmed the deaths of 4 U.S. soldiers killed in the Middle East over recent days. Among them was 28-year-old Sergeant Angel S. Rampersad, who died following an Iranian strike in Jordan. The gravity of the situation was marked by President Trump attending the dignified transfer ceremony for the fallen service members at Dover Air Force Base, where he stated that Iran would pay for American fatalities many times over.
All of which leaves us with a final pressing question. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has stated that while Washington is willing to engage in diplomacy, he simply does not believe Tehran is currently serious about talks. So, if diplomacy is frozen, if military funds are draining to the tune of $37.5 billion, forcing cuts to basic training, and if the target zone is actively expanding toward potential nuclear sites, how exactly does this widening conflict actually find a resolution? It's a complex puzzle with immense global stakes, and it's one we are going to continue to monitor very closely. Stay focused, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.